She was left in the middle of the desert, covered in rags, too weak to ask for help. Travelers passed by, looked away, pretending not to see that Apache woman lying in the sand, until a cowboy stopped, stepped closer, read something hidden in her torn clothing, and his hands began to tremble. When he whispered, "Let's go home," everyone around fell into absolute silence. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment where in the world you're watching from, because now I'm going to tell you everything. The sun was a white hole in the sky, burning everything beneath it. The asphalt shimmered like a dirty river. Lilui put one foot in front of the other. Her mouth felt full of sand. A car rushed past, then another. The wind from them pushed at her, hot and mean. She did not look at the cars. She looked at the ground. She counted the cracks in the road. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was something to do. It kept her mind off the thirst. Another car did not stop. A voice in her head, sounding like Rafe, said, "No one stops. They never stop." She knew this. She kept walking. Clay McCulloch drove his pickup truck. The air conditioner was broken. The window was down. Hot air blew in his face. He was tired. His bones ached from fixing fences all morning. He saw a shape up ahead, on the side of the road. A person, walking slow. He slowed down. It was a young woman. Her clothes were dirty. She stumbled a little. Many thoughts went through Clay's head. He thought, "It's not smart to stop asterisk." He thought, "I'm too tired for trouble asterisk." He thought of his daughter, Sophie. He thought of her every day. He thought, asterisk, what if it was her all those years ago and no one stopped? His foot pressed the brake. The truck pulled over onto the rough gravel. The crunching sound was loud. Lilui heard the tires on the stones. She stopped walking. She did not turn around. Her body went still. She counted the cacti on the far side of the road. 3 of them. She heard a truck door open and close. Footsteps came toward her. Slow, heavy steps. "Miss," a man's voice said. It was a rough voice, but not mean. Slowly she turned around. An older man stood there. He wore a hat. His face was lined and kind. He held a bottle of water in his hand. "You look like you could use this," he said. He held the bottle out, not coming closer. Lilui looked at the water. Her throat burned. She looked at his face. She saw no danger there, only weariness like hers. She took the bottle. Her hands shook. She opened it and drank. The water was the best thing she had ever tasted. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was a scratch. "You're miles from anywhere," the man said. "You have people coming for you?" Lilui shook her head. She did not have people. She only had Rafe, and he was far away. The man nodded like he understood. "My name's Clay. I've got a ranch not too far from here. I can give you a ride to town, or you can come to the ranch, get some food, clean up. No strings." He meant no conditions, no payment. Lilui was very suspicious of this. Kindness always had a price. She looked at his eyes. They were a faded blue and sad. She saw truth in them. She did not know what to say. She felt she should give him something, for the water, for stopping. She had nothing. Then she remembered the cloth, the piece of her old shirt she always carried. It was stupid, but it felt important. With stiff fingers, she reached into her pocket. She pulled out the scrap of faded cloth. She held it out to him. "It's all I have," she said. Clay almost smiled, a kind gesture. He took the cloth. His fingers smoothed it out. He froze. His breath stopped. The whole world narrowed to the cloth in his hands. On the corner, faded but clear, was a pattern. Little stitched horseshoes, blue thread. His hands began to shake. "Where did you get this?" he whispered. The words were choked. Lilui took a step back. His change scared her. "It was with me. When I was a kid, I just kept it." Clay looked from the cloth to her face, really looked. Past the dirt and the tiredness, he saw the shape of her eyes, warm brown. He knew those eyes. They were his wife's eyes. They were the eyes he saw in his dreams and in old photographs. 25 years. It had been 25 years. A pain, sharp and sweet, hit him in the chest. Tears filled his eyes. They blurred the desert, the road, everything but her face. "Sophie," he breathed. The name was a prayer and a cry. Lilui did not understand. "My name is Liloi." Clay shook his head slowly. He could not stop looking at her. He held up the cloth. "I made this. I sewed these horseshoes. For my little girl, for Sophie. On her blanket. She was taken from me 25 years ago. The words hung in the hot air. They did not make sense. Lilui felt the ground tilt. She counted the buttons on his shirt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not possible, she said. Look at me, Clay said, his voice thick. Please look at me. She looked into his wet blue eyes. She saw a hope so big it was like a physical force. She saw no lie. He took a step closer, very slowly. He pointed a trembling finger at the cloth. This was hers. You have it. And you have her eyes. My Mary's eyes. The name Mary meant nothing to her, but his certainty was a wall. She leaned against the hot metal of his truck. She could not breathe right. Let's go home, Clay said. The words were soft but firm. Please, let me take you home. Home. The word was foreign. Her home was a memory of Rafe, of moving, of never staying. This man offered a different home, a home from a story she was not part of. But he had stopped. When no one else did, he had given her water. Now he looked at her like she was a ghost he had been waiting for his whole life. She had no strength to walk anymore. She had no answers. She only had a piece of cloth that now seemed to shake the earth. Lilui looked down the long, empty road. Then she looked at Clay's open, broken face. She gave one small nod. She got into the truck. The truck moved down a dirt road. Lilui watched the desert pass by. She did not speak. Clay did not push her. The only sound was the engine and the tires on the rocks. The ranch is just up here, Clay said finally. His voice was careful, like he was talking to a scared animal. Lilui just nodded. She counted the fence posts. 1, 2, 3, 4. They turned a corner. A house came into view. It was low and made of pale wood with a wide porch. A big red barn sat off to the side. Some horses stood in a dusty corral. Everything was quiet and still. Clay stopped the truck in front of the house. He turned off the engine. The silence felt huge. This is it, he said. He looked at her, waiting for her reaction. Lilui opened the door and got out. The heat wrapped around her, but it was a dry heat here, not like the road. She looked at the house. Her eyes moved quickly. Front door. 2 windows on the left. 3 windows on the right. A back door? She would find it. You hungry? Clay asked, walking toward the porch. I can make some eggs, or a sandwich. I am okay, she said, but her stomach felt very empty. Well, I'm fixing to make one for myself. You can join me or not. He climbed the steps and opened the front door. He did not close it behind him. An invitation. Lilui stood in the yard for a moment. She looked back at the long dirt road leading to the main highway. One way out. She counted the horses, 4 of them. Then she walked slowly to the house. Inside it was cool and dim. The main room had a sofa, a chair, and a stone fireplace. Everything was clean but old. Photos in simple frames sat on a shelf. Lilui did not look at them. She heard Clay in the kitchen, the sound of a refrigerator opening, the click of a stove. She walked through the room. She saw a hallway. She counted the doors. 1, 2, 3, bathroom, bedroom, another bedroom. A door at the end of the hall, probably to the backyard. Good. The bathroom's right there if you want to wash up, Clay called from the kitchen. Clean towels in the cabinet. Lilui went into the bathroom. She locked the door. She looked at her face in the mirror. Dirt. Tired eyes. Her wife's eyes, he had said. She splashed cold water on her face. It helped a little. When she came out, Clay was setting 2 plates on a small kitchen table. Each had a large sandwich. Turkey and cheese, he said. Hope that's all right. They sat down. Lilui ate. The food was good. She ate all of it without looking up. Thank you, she said when she was done. Clay just nodded. He finished his own food. There's a spare room. You can stay there. As long as you need, no questions. Why are you doing this? Lilui asked. Her voice was flat. Because of a piece of cloth? Clay looked down at his rough hands. Yes, because of the cloth, and because of your eyes, and because, for 25 years, I have prayed for a sign, for a chance. You walking down that road today feels like that chance. I don't expect you to believe me yet. Before Lilui could answer, the sound of another vehicle came from outside, gravel spitting. A car door slammed. Clay's posture changed. He looked wary. Footsteps came quickly up the porch steps. A woman appeared in the open doorway. She was older, with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore neat jeans and a blouse. "Clay, I saw your truck back early. I just wanted to—" She stopped talking when she saw Lilouis. Her eyes moved from Liloui's dirty clothes to her face. Her friendly look vanished. "Who is this?" the woman asked. Her voice was not warm. "Margaret, this is Lilouis," Clay said, standing up. "Lily, this is my sister Margaret. She lives in town." Margaret did not smile. "I see. And how did you two meet?" "I gave her a ride from the highway," Clay said. His voice had a warning in it. "A ride," Margaret repeated. She looked at Lilouis with clear doubt. "You picked up a hitchhiker?" "Clay, you know better than that." "It's not like that," Clay said, his voice low. "It's exactly like that," Margaret said. She crossed her arms. "We've talked about this. People hear about a lonely old man on a nice piece of land. They see an opportunity." Lilouis felt her body go still. She looked at the table. She counted the lines in the wood grain. This was the price. This was always the price. "Margaret, that's enough," Clay said firmly. "Is it? What do you know about her? What does she want?" Margaret's words were fast and sharp. Lilouis stood up. Her chair scraped on the floor. "I want nothing," she said, her voice quiet but clear. "I will go." "No," Clay said, stepping toward her. He held up a hand to his sister. "You will not. Margaret, you need to leave. Now." Margaret's face flushed with anger. "I am trying to protect you. You are too soft-hearted. She will take advantage and you will lose everything." "Get out," Clay said. The words were not loud, but they were final. Margaret stared at him, then at Lilouis. She shook her head. "You are making a big mistake." She turned and walked out. The door did not close all the way behind her. They heard her car start and drive away fast. The kitchen was very quiet. Lilouis's heart beat hard against her ribs. She looked at the back door down the hall. It would be so easy. Just walk out. Disappear into the desert. Clay saw the look in her eyes. He saw her measuring the distance to the door. "I am sorry," he said. He sounded more tired than ever. "My sister, she is afraid. She thinks she is helping. The room is there if you want it. Or I can take you to town right now. Your choice." Lilouis looked at him. He was giving her the choice to leave, after his sister just said all those things. He was not forcing her to stay. She looked at the back door again. Freedom. The known loneliness. Then she looked at the empty plate on the table. The food he made without asking for anything. "I will stay tonight," she whispered. It was all she could promise. Clay just nodded, a small weight lifting from his shoulders. "All right then, let me show you the room." The room was small and plain. A bed, a dresser, a window. Lilouis sat on the edge of the bed. The door was closed. She could hear Clay moving around in the kitchen, the soft clink of dishes being washed. The woman's words, Margaret's words, played in her head. A lonely old man, an opportunity. Lilouis lay back on the pillow. She stared at the ceiling. She counted the small cracks in the plaster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This was a nice trap, a comfortable trap. But a trap all the same. People were not this kind without a reason. Either they wanted something or they were lying. But Clay's eyes when he saw the cloth, that did not look like a lie. It looked like a man who had seen a ghost. Her own mind felt like a locked box. She tried to remember a time before the foster home in Nevada, before Las Vegas. She always came up against a wall. There was only darkness, and then a gas station in Kingman, Arizona, a police officer's loud voice, being alone. But there was a before. There had to be. A man who sewed blue horseshoes, a woman with brown eyes, a song. She pushed the thought away. It was dangerous to want that. It was safer to remember what was real. What was real was a house just outside Las Vegas, the smell of old grease and cheap cleaner, the foster parents, Gary and Carol, who talked in loud voices about money. What was real was Rafe. He was older, maybe 16 to her 10. He was tall and thin and quiet. The other kids left her alone because of him. One night, Gary had yelled at her for spilling milk. He had grabbed her arm too hard. Rafe had stepped between them. He had not said a word. He just stared at Gary until the man let go and walked away. Later, Rafe found her hiding in the backyard. "You're tough," he had said, his voice low. "Don't let them see you cry. That's what they want." He taught her how to be invisible, how to take an extra piece of bread without being seen, how to listen at doors. When they both aged out of the system, they stuck together. They lived in his old car for a while. They found odd jobs. Sometimes they did small jobs for people who paid in cash and did not ask questions. It was not a good life, but it was theirs. He was the only person who never left. He was her brother. She owed him everything. Lulu sat up. She reached into her pocket. She took out a cheap cell phone. The battery was low. She had one number saved. She pressed the call button and held the phone to her ear. It rang 2 times. "Lil?" His voice was alert, even though it was late. He always answered. "Rafe, where are you? I've been calling. You said you were just going to Flagstaff for a day." "I did," she said. "But then I kept walking." "Why? What happened? Are you hurt?" His voice was tight with concern. "I am not hurt. I am at a place, a ranch, near Tucson." A pause on the other end. "A ranch? Whose ranch? What are you doing there?" "A man picked me up on the road. He gave me water. He offered a place to sleep." "Lil, no." Rafe's voice was sharp. "That's not safe. You know that. Get out of there right now." "It is not like that," she said. But she heard Margaret's voice in her head. "He is old. He is not dangerous." "Everyone is dangerous," Rafe shot back. "Especially people who are nice for no reason." "What does he want? Money?" "He says..." She took a breath. "He says I am his daughter. A daughter who was taken a long time ago." The silence on the phone was so complete she thought the call had dropped. "Rafe!" His asterisk, what asterisk? Rafe's voice was a mix of disbelief and anger. "Lil, that is the oldest trick in the book. He is lying to you. He's probably crazy, or he wants something. You need to leave, now. Walk to the road. I will come get you." He had a piece of cloth, with blue horseshoes. He said he made it. "So he sews," Rafe said, his tone dismissive. "It doesn't mean anything. He could have seen it on you and made up a story. Where are you exactly? What's the man's name?" "Clay. Clay McCullough." She gave him the name of the main road she remembered. Okay. I'm getting in the car. I will drive all night. Do not eat anything else he gives you. Do not fall asleep in a room with a locked door from the outside. You understand me?" "I understand." She felt a familiar comfort in his orders. This was the world she knew. Be careful. Trust no one. "I will be there by morning," he said. "Just sit tight. And Lil?" "Yes?" "Don't believe him. Your family is me. I'm coming." He hung up. Lulu put the phone down. She looked at the closed door of her room. Clay was on the other side, believing she was his lost child. Rafe was on the road, believing Clay was a threat. She was in the middle. She felt pulled in 2 directions. One toward a past she could not remember, offered with a kind and sad face. The other toward the only truth she had ever known, Rafe and survival. She got up and walked to the window. It looked out over the dark desert. She checked the lock. It opened easily. She counted the steps from the window to the ground. A way out. She would wait for Rafe. But as she stood there, the smell of the dry earth and the quiet of the night felt strangely familiar, in a way that the noise of Las Vegas never had. The night passed slowly. Lily did not sleep much. She listened to the sounds of the old house, the hum of the refrigerator, the groan of a pipe. Once, she heard Clay's footsteps walk past her door and stop. He stood there for a moment, then walked away. When the first gray light came through the window, she got up. She found him in the kitchen, pouring coffee into a chipped mug. "Morning," he said. He did not ask how she slept. He held up the coffee pot. "Coffee?" "Yes, please." She took the mug he offered. They stood in silence, looking out the kitchen window as the desert turned from gray to gold. "I feed the horses in the morning," Clay said after a while. "You can come out if you like, or you can stay in. It's up to you." Lily thought of Rafe, driving through the night. She had time to kill. "I will come," she said. The morning air was cool. The horses, 3 paints and an old bay, came to the fence when they saw Clay. He poured grain into buckets in the corral. Lily leaned on the wooden rail, watching. "That big bay is Duke," Clay said. "He's gentle as a lamb. You can give him this apple if you want." He held out a piece of apple. Lily hesitated. Then she took it. She walked slowly into the corral. Duke ambled over. His nostrils flared, sniffing her hand. His breath was warm. She held out the apple flat on her palm. His lips tickled her skin as he took it. A feeling washed over her. A deep calm. The smell of horse, of hay, of dry earth. It was not new. It felt known. Safe. She closed her eyes for a second. "You're a natural," Clay said softly from the fence. "Not many people are that still their first time." She opened her eyes and stepped back. "It is a nice smell," she said. "It's the best smell in the world," Clay agreed. He started brushing Duke's coat with a stiff brush. He worked in slow, steady strokes. After a few minutes, he began to hum. It was a simple tune, a few notes going up and down. Lily froze. The tune went into her ears and straight down to her bones. Her heart gave a hard thump. A flash came, not a picture, a feeling. Being small, very small. The feeling of being carried, rocking. A low voice humming this same tune close to her ear. A feeling of absolute safety. A feeling of being loved. It was gone as fast as it came. Clay stopped humming. "You all right?" he asked. He had seen her face change. Lily's mouth was dry. "That song," she whispered. "What about it? What is it called?" "Oh, that's just an old thing," Clay said. He looked down at the brush in his hand. "It doesn't really have a name. It's just a tune my mama used to hum. I used to hum it to my—" He stopped. He looked at her. "To Sophie. At bedtime. To help her sleep." The air between them became very still. The only sound was the horses chewing. Lily wrapped her arms around herself. The feeling from the flash was still echoing inside her. It was the opposite of every memory she had from Nevada. It was warm and soft. It felt true. "I know it," she said. The words felt dangerous. Clay dropped the brush. It landed in the dirt with a soft thud. He took a step toward her, then stopped himself. His eyes were wide. You remember it?" "I do not remember," she corrected quickly. "I just know it. When you hummed it, it felt familiar." Tears welled in Clay's eyes. He did not wipe them away. He just nodded over and over. "She loved that tune. She would put her little head on my shoulder and sigh, just like that." He was not lying. Lily could see it. The memory was real for him. And now, a piece of it was real for her too. A piece she did not ask for and did not understand. A cold fear spread through her stomach. If this was real, then everything else was a lie. Her name, her past, the story of her life, Gary and Carol, the gas station in Kingman. All of it was built on something false. "I need to go inside," she said suddenly. She turned and walked quickly toward the house. She needed to be alone. She needed to count something, anything, to make the world solid again. "Lily," Clay called after her, his voice full of emotion. She did not stop. She went into the house, down the hall, and into her room. She closed the door. She sat on the bed and stared at the wall. She counted the flowers on the wallpaper. 1, 2, 3, 4. But underneath the counting, the hummed tune played in a loop in her mind. And with it came that feeling of being safe, of being home. It was the most frightening thing she had ever felt. A soft knock came on her door. Lily did not answer. She kept counting the flowers. The door opened just a crack. Clay stood there. He held a glass of water. "Brought you this," he said. He did not come in. "The desert air, it dries you out." Lily took the water. "Thank you." Clay lingered in the doorway. He looked older in the morning light. The hope on his face was painful to see. "That tune," he said carefully. "It means something, doesn't it?" Lily nodded. She could not deny it. Clay let out a long breath. "I have something I want to show you. Up in the attic. Only if you want to see it." "What is it?" "Things from before. From when Sophie was here. Maybe something will look familiar to you too." The thought scared her. But the tune had been a key, turning a lock in a door she did not know was there. She was afraid, but she needed to know what was behind that door. "Okay," she said. The attic was reached by a pull-down ladder in the hallway ceiling. The air up there was hot and still, full of dust. It smelled of old wood and memories. Clay pulled a string for a single light bulb. It cast a weak yellow glow over stacks of boxes and old furniture. "I never could get rid of this stuff," he said, his voice quiet. "My wife, Mary, she wanted to. She said it was like keeping a wound open. But I couldn't. It was all I had left." He went to a small wooden box in the corner. It was not like the cardboard boxes. It was a pretty box with a faded design on the lid. He carried it over and set it on an old trunk. "This was hers," he said. "Sophie's." He opened the lid. Inside were soft, small things: a tiny pair of white shoes, a little pink dress folded neatly, a stuffed rabbit, its fur worn thin, and a blanket, a small blue blanket. Liloui's breath caught. On the corner of the blanket, clear as day, were the stitched blue horseshoes, just like on her cloth. A perfect match. Clay saw her looking. He gently lifted the blanket out and handed it to her. She took it. The fabric was soft from many washes. She ran her fingers over the horseshoes. They were exactly the same. Her piece of cloth was a tiny fragment of this. She had it with her, Clay said, his voice thick. In the car. That day. Liloui put the blanket down. She felt dizzy. She looked back in the box. Under the clothes was a small bundle of envelopes tied with a string. "What are those?" she asked. Clay looked at the letters. His face became sad. "Those came after, from family, friends, people sending their sympathies. I read them once. It was too hard. I put them here and never looked again." Something about the letters called to Liloui. They were a part of the story of what happened after she was gone. "Can we look at them?" she asked. Clay seemed surprised, but he nodded. "If you want to." He untied the string. He handed her the stack. Liloui sat on the floor, the hot attic dust settling around her. She started going through the envelopes. Most had cards with kind, sad words. "We are so sorry for your loss. Our prayers are with you." Then she found one that was different. The envelope was plain. The writing was messy, like the person was upset. It was addressed to Clay. There was no return address. The postmark was from Phoenix, and the date was about 1 year after Sophie disappeared. "This one," Liloui said, holding it up. Clay took it. He frowned. "I don't remember this one." He pulled out a single sheet of paper. He read it silently. His face lost all its color. His hands began to shake. "What?" Liloui asked, fear creeping up her throat. "What does it say?" Clay did not speak. He just handed her the letter. Liloui took it. The writing was messy and hard to read. She read it out loud, slowly. "Clay, I have to tell you, I did a terrible thing. I took her. After the big fight at the house, I was so sad and so angry. I thought I could give her a better life, away from all the yelling. I just meant to take her for a little while. But then I got scared. I stopped at a gas station to think. I turned my back for 1 minute, just 1 minute, and she was gone. I lost her. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I cannot live with this. Do not look for me." The letter was not signed. The hot attic air felt like ice. Liloui looked up at Clay. He was staring at the paper, his eyes wide with horror. "She wasn't taken by a stranger," he whispered. The words seemed to tear out of him. "She was taken by family, someone in our family." The truth was huge and ugly. It sat between them in the dusty attic. Sophie was not stolen by some unknown criminal. She was taken by someone they knew, someone who then lost her at a gas station. That was how she ended up alone. That was how she became Liloui. And that meant someone had known this secret for 25 years. Someone had let Clay and his wife suffer, thinking the worst. Someone had watched Clay's life break apart and said nothing. "Who?" Liloui asked, her voice a dry rustle. "Who wrote it?" Clay shook his head, his mind racing over old memories, old faces. "I don't know. The writing, it's familiar, but I can't." Then his eyes met hers. In them she saw a new, dawning dread. The knowledge was in the house now. It was out of the box, and the person who had kept this secret would know that soon too. They sat on the floor of the attic for a long time, the letter between them. The dust settled. The truth felt too big to hold. Finally, Clay stood up slowly. His joints cracked. "We should go downstairs," he said, his voice rough. "This is a lot." Liloui nodded. She felt numb. She followed him down the ladder, back into the cooler air of the hallway. The house felt different now. It held a secret in its walls. They were in the kitchen, both staring at the letter on the table, when they heard the sound. A car, moving fast on the dirt road, kicking up gravel. Lilou's head snapped up. Her heart jumped. Asterisk Rafe. Asterisk Clay saw the change in her. "You expecting someone?" he asked, his guard going up. Before she could answer, a car door slammed. Heavy footsteps pounded up the porch steps. The front door flew open. A young man stood there. He was tall, with dark hair and sharp, worried eyes that scanned the room and locked onto Lilou. He wore a worn leather jacket. This was Rafe. "Lil," he said, breathless. "Get your stuff. We're leaving, now." Clay stepped forward, putting himself slightly between Rafe and Lilou. "Who are you?" Rafe's eyes flicked to Clay with pure distrust. "I'm her brother. Who the hell are you?" "This is Clay," Lilou said quietly. She did not move. "I don't care what his name is," Rafe said, his voice tight. "You said you'd be ready. Let's go." "Hold on just a minute," Clay said, his tone calm but firm. He held up a hand. "She's not going anywhere until we talk." "We have nothing to talk about, old man," Rafe shot back. He took a step into the room. "Lilou, now." "Rafe, stop," Lilou said. She stood up. "Just listen." "Listen to what? His lies?" Rafe's anger was hot and protective. "He's telling you a story to get something from you. I've seen it 100 times." "It's not a story," Clay said. He picked up the faded cloth from the counter. He held it out. "I made this for my daughter Sophie. She was taken 25 years ago." Rafe glanced at the cloth but didn't really look. A piece of cloth proves nothing. "Then what about this?" Clay's voice grew stronger. He pointed to Lilou. "What about the song she remembers? A song I only ever sang to my little girl. What about her eyes? They're her mother's eyes." "Coincidence," Rafe yelled. "You're a lonely man and she's someone who needs help. You're twisting things to fit your fantasy." "It's not a fantasy," Lilou said, her voice so quiet it made both men look at her. "I know the song, Rafe. I felt it. And we found a letter." "A letter?" Rafe's eyes narrowed. Clay pushed the letter across the table toward him. "Read it." Suspicious, Rafe picked up the paper. He read it. His face changed. The anger drained away, replaced by confusion. He read it again. "This says, a family member took her." "Yes," Clay said, "and then lost her. That's how she ended up alone. That's how she became Lilou. She is Sophie, my daughter." Rafe looked from the letter to Lilou. He saw the truth on her face. She believed it. The fight went out of his shoulders. He leaned against the doorframe, suddenly looking very young and very tired. "So, what does this mean?" he asked, his voice quieter. "It means I just found my daughter," Clay said. "It means she has a home here, if she wants it." Rafe laughed, but it was a sad sound. "A home? You think it's that easy? You don't know her. You don't know what her life has been. I do. I've been there for all of it." "I know I don't," Clay said, his voice gentle but steady. "And I am grateful to you for that. More than I can say. But she is my blood. This is her family." "I am her family," Rafe shouted, pushing off the doorframe. "I'm the one who was there, not you." "Stop!" Lilou's voice cut through the room. Both men fell silent. She was trembling. She looked at Rafe, the person who had saved her 100 times. Then she looked at Clay, who looked at her like she was a miracle. She was pulled in two, and it was tearing her apart. "Rafe," she said, her voice pleading, "stay. Just for tonight. We can talk. You can see this place. We can figure this out." Rafe stared at her, hurt in his eyes. "You want me to stay here with him?" "Please," she whispered. "For me." Rafe looked at her face. He saw she was not being tricked. She was caught. He had always protected her, and right now, protecting her meant staying close, even if he hated it. He let out a long, defeated breath. He looked at Clay with clear dislike. "One night," he said. "Then we decide what's next." Clay nodded slowly. "One night. You can take the sofa. It's not much, but it's clean. Rafe just shrugged, his eyes never leaving Lilouis. He had agreed to stay, but the battle was far from over. The air in the ranch house was thick with tension, and outside the sky was beginning to darken with distant, heavy clouds. The sky turned a deep, bruised purple. The wind picked up, howling around the corners of the house and rattling the windows. Distant thunder grumbled like a hungry stomach. Inside, the four of them sat in the living room. Clay was in his worn chair. Lilouis sat on the far end of the sofa. Rafe stood by the fireplace, arms crossed. Margaret sat stiffly in the other chair. She had come back just as the first drops of rain fell, saying the roads from town were getting bad. No one spoke. The only sounds were the wind and the ticking of an old clock. "This is a fine mess," Margaret said finally, her voice cutting the silence. She looked at Lilouis. "You're still here." "She is," Clay said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Margaret shook her head. "And now there's another one." She glanced at Rafe. "What's your part in this?" "I'm her brother," Rafe said, his voice cold. "Brother," Margaret repeated with a snort. "You don't look like any brother to me. You look like trouble." "Margaret," Clay warned. "No, Clay, it needs saying. You have two strangers in your house because of a fairy tale. A piece of cloth and a feeling? It's not proof. It's hope. And hope makes people stupid." Rafe pushed off the fireplace. "She's right about one thing. It's not proof. That letter you showed me? It could be a fake. Anyone could have written it." "It's not a fake," Clay said, his patience thinning. "It was with Mary's things, in Sophie's box." "So someone in your family is a liar and a kidnapper," Rafe shot back. "That doesn't make you her father. It just means your family is messed up." A flash of lightning lit up the room, white and sudden. A crack of thunder followed almost instantly, shaking the house. The lights flickered. "The storm is right on top of us," Clay said, standing up. He went to a cupboard and took out some candles and a box of matches. "Great, now we're trapped," Rafe muttered. "We are safe," Clay said, lighting a candle. The small flame made shadows dance on the walls. "The house is strong. The arroyo might flood, but we're high enough." Another boom of thunder. The lights flickered again, then went out completely. The room was plunged into a deep, shaky darkness, broken only by the candle Clay held and the flashes from outside. The darkness made everything feel more intense, more dangerous. "This is what she brings," Margaret's voice came from the dark. "Chaos, trouble, just like I said." "Shut up," Rafe said. "Don't you tell me to shut up in my brother's house." "It's not your house." "Enough." Clay's voice was loud in the small dark room. "This fighting solves nothing. The truth is the truth, no matter how loud you yell." "What truth?" Margaret cried. "That you want so badly to believe this girl is Sophie that you'll throw away your common sense? You'll let these people into your life? They will take everything from you." Lilouis stood up. The shadows made her face look ghostly. "I do not want anything from him." "Everyone wants something," Margaret yelled back. "Not her," Rafe said, stepping toward Margaret's voice. "She's never wanted anything from anyone. She just wanted to be left alone. And now she's got all of you pulling at her with your stories and your accusations." "The letter is not a story." Clay's voice was raw with emotion. "Someone in this family took my baby. Someone knows who did it, and that person has been sitting on that secret for 25 years, watching me die inside every day." The room went silent again, except for the roar of the rain on the roof. In the quiet, Margaret's breath hitched. It was a small, sharp sound. "What did you say?" Margaret whispered. Clay turned toward the sound of her voice. The candlelight flickered in his eyes. "The letter, Margaret. It says a family member took Sophie and then lost her. Someone in this family has been living with that lie." A flash of lightning. In that split second, Lilouis saw Margaret's face. It was a mask of pure terror. "No," Margaret breathed. That's not possible." "It's in writing," Rafe said, his voice cutting through the dark. "We read it." "Where is it?" Margaret's voice was shrill. "Let me see it." "It's on the kitchen table," Clay said, his voice now filled with a terrible suspicion. "Why, Margaret? What do you know?" Margaret didn't answer. They heard her chair scrape back. She stumbled through the dark toward the kitchen. They all followed, Clay holding the candle high. The small flame threw their huge, wavering shadows on the walls. Margaret stood by the kitchen table, the letter in her hands. She was staring at it, but she wasn't reading it. She was trembling all over. "Margaret," Clay said, his voice hard and cold. "Look at me." She slowly raised her head. Her eyes were wide with a guilt so old and deep it had become part of her. In the candlelight, she didn't look angry anymore. She looked broken. Louis felt the old fear rise up, the need to run. But the storm was outside, a wall of water and wind. There was no escape. The truth was in here with them, and it was about to break loose. The candle flame shook in Clay's hand. The shadows leaped on the walls. Margaret just stood there, holding the letter, her face wet with tears. "It was me," she whispered. The words were so soft they were almost lost in the storm. Then she said it again, louder, her voice breaking. "It was me." Clay stared at her. He did not understand. "You wrote the letter?" "No," Margaret cried. She dropped the paper like it burned her. "I didn't take her, but I left her." The room was frozen. The only movement was the flickering light. "What are you talking about?" Clay's voice was low and dangerous. Margaret wiped her face with a trembling hand. "That day, in Phoenix, you and Mary had that big fight in the house. You were yelling. Everyone was upset. You asked me to take Sophie out to the car, to buckle her in her seat. You said you'd be right out." Clay's eyes were locked on her. He was remembering. "I put her in the car," Margaret sobbed. "She had that little blue blanket. She was fussy. I buckled her in. Then I saw my friend Jenny from school. She was walking by. She waved. I just wanted to say hello, just for a minute. I thought it would be okay. I left the car door open. I only went 10 steps away. We talked for maybe 3 minutes, maybe 4. She was shaking all over now, the words pouring out like poison she had held for too long. When I turned around, she was gone. The car seat was empty, just the blanket there. I ran. I looked everywhere. I called her name. It was only a few minutes. I thought she must have climbed out. I thought she was hiding, but she was just gone." Clay took a step back as if he had been hit. His face was pale. "You never told us that." "I was scared," Margaret wailed. "I was so scared. You and Mary were already fighting. It was my fault for leaving her. If I had just stayed at the car, I thought they would hate me forever. I thought you would never forgive me. So I said I found the car empty. I said I never saw her. I let everyone think a stranger came and took her from a locked car." Louis listened, her heart a cold stone in her chest. She saw it. A little girl in a car seat, an open door, a few minutes of neglect. That was all it took to break so many lives. Then, a year later, Margaret continued, her voice a broken whisper. "The letter came from our cousin Ellen. You remember Ellen? She was always so sad, so unstable. The letter said she saw me walk away. She was angry at the family after the fight. She thought she was saving Sophie. She took her from the car. She said she just wanted to give her a calm ride, to scare everyone. But then she stopped for gas. She turned her back, and Sophie wandered off. Ellen lost her. She was too ashamed to come back. She sent the letter to me because she knew it was my fault too." Margaret sank into a kitchen chair, her body limp. "I got the letter. I read it. And I hid it. If I showed it to anyone, they would know the truth. They would know I left the car. It was my fault. All of it was my fault. So I put it with the other letters. I thought if no one ever knew, the guilt would just be mine to carry. I didn't know you kept the box. I didn't know you would ever find it." Clay was silent for a long time. The wind screamed outside. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. 25 years. For 25 years, I thought it was a monster who took her. I thought it was my fault for not being there. I hated myself. Mary died hating herself, and you knew. All this time, you knew it was a mistake, a terrible, stupid mistake, and you let us drown in it. "I'm sorry," Margaret cried, her head in her hands. "I'm so sorry, Clay. I was a coward." Rafe had been quiet, watching. Now he spoke, his voice surprisingly calm. "So it was an accident. A series of bad choices. Not a kidnapping, not a monster." He looked at Louis. "Just people being people. And you got lost in the middle." Louis understood now. She was not stolen by evil. She was lost by flawed, scared people. A cousin who wasn't thinking right. An aunt who looked away for a few minutes. It was almost worse. It was so pointless. Clay looked at his sister, his eyes filled with a pain so deep it seemed bottomless. "You were my big sister. I trusted you." "I know," Margaret whispered. "And I failed you. I will leave. I will go tonight. You will never have to see me again." She started to stand up, her legs unsteady. "Sit down," Clay said. The anger was gone from his voice. Only a vast, weary sadness remained. "You're not going out in that. No one is going anywhere tonight." The truth was out now. It sat among them in the dark kitchen, ugly and sad. There was no villain in a mask. There was only human failure and a lifetime of regret. The rain softened to a steady drumming on the roof. The worst of the storm had passed. In the kitchen, the air was heavy with spent tears and exhaustion. Clay helped Margaret to the sofa. She was limp, her crying now quiet shudders. He covered her with a blanket, his movements slow and automatic. He did not speak to her. Louis watched from the doorway. She felt hollowed out. The story was complete now, and it was sad and small. She felt sorry for Margaret. She felt sorry for Clay. She felt sorry for the little girl who got lost. Rafe touched her arm. "Can we talk? Outside?" She nodded. They walked to the covered porch. The air was cool and washed clean. Water dripped from the roof. The desert was a black void beyond the yard light. Rafe leaned against a post. He didn't look at her for a minute. "So," he said finally, "that's it. That's the whole story." "Yes," Louis said. "It's true then. He's your father. That woman in there. She's your aunt. This is your place." Louis didn't answer. She waited. Rafe turned to look at her. His face was tired but calm. All the anger was gone. "I'm not your brother," he said. "Not by blood." "You are my brother," she said immediately, her voice fierce. He gave a small smile. "Yeah, I am. In every way that counts, I am. But he's your father. That's different." He took a deep breath. "You should stay, Lil." The word surprised her. "What?" "You should stay here, with him. This is a real home. This is a family. A messed up one, but a real one. They have history here. You have history here." Louis shook her head. "You are my family. We have history too." "Our history is surviving," Rafe said softly. "It's hiding. It's counting cracks in the ceiling so you don't go crazy. It's not a home this can be." "What about you?" she asked, her throat tight. "I'll be okay. I've always been okay. My job was to keep you safe until you didn't need me anymore. Looks like you don't need me for that now." "That is not true," she whispered. "It is true," he said. He put his hands on her shoulders. "Listen to me. That man in there, he stopped his truck for you, on a hot road, when no one else did. He didn't know you. He just saw someone who needed help. That's the kind of man he is. That's the kind of father he must be. You deserve that. You deserve to be looked at like you're a miracle, not a problem." Tears filled Lily's eyes. "I owe you everything." "You don't owe me anything," Rafe said. His own eyes were shiny. "This isn't a debt. This is me letting you go to something better. That's what a brother does." He pulled her into a tight hug. She held on, her face pressed into his leather jacket. She remembered all the times this hug was the only safe thing in the world. "You'll leave?" she asked when they pulled apart. "In the morning, when the roads are clear. It's better that way." Louis looked back at the house. Through the window, she could see Clay sitting in his chair, staring at the wall. A man who had carried a mountain of guilt for 25 years, only to find out the truth was both simpler and more complicated. She thought of the empty road, the feeling of being invisible, then the crunch of gravel under his tires, the water bottle held out in a rough, kind hand. That was the moment everything changed. A simple act, a choice to stop. Rafe was right. That choice meant something. "I will stay," she said. The words felt solid. They felt true. Rafe nodded, a sad pride in his eyes. "Good. Now go on in. I'm going to stay out here a bit." Louis walked back into the house. Margaret was asleep on the sofa, her face streaked and pale. Clay looked up as Louis entered the room. "Is he leaving?" Clay asked, his voice quiet. "In the morning," Louis said. Clay nodded. He looked at her for a long moment. "And you?" Louis walked over to the chair next to his. She sat down. She didn't touch him. She didn't call him anything. She just sat there, in the quiet house, with her father. "I am staying," she said. Clay closed his eyes. A single tear traced a path through the dust on his cheek. He didn't say anything. He just reached over and covered her hand with his own. It was warm and rough, and it felt like an anchor. The morning was quiet. The only sound was the drip of water from the roof onto the wet ground. The sky was a clear, pale blue. The desert smelled clean and new. Rafe's car was packed. He stood by the driver's door, his bag in the back seat. Lilui walked out to him. The ground was damp under her feet. "Road should be okay now," Rafe said, looking toward the highway. Lilui nodded. She didn't know what to say. Thank you was not enough. Goodbye felt wrong. Rafe turned to her. He managed a small smile. "You look better, with some sleep, some food. You will call me?" she asked. "When I get settled somewhere." "I will." He kicked at a loose piece of gravel. "You be happy here, Lil. Really, try to be happy." "I will try." He opened his arms. She stepped into one last hug. It was quick and tight. Then he let go and got into the car. He started the engine. He looked at her through the open window. "See you around, sister," he said. She lifted a hand. "See you around, brother." He put the car in gear and drove slowly down the long dirt road. She watched until his car was a small speck, then nothing at all. She counted the breaths she took until she could not see him anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4. When she turned back to the house, Margaret was standing on the porch. Her eyes were red, her face swollen. She held a small suitcase. "I'll go now," Margaret said, her voice hollow. "I'll find a place in town for a while. Then I don't know." Clay came out of the house. He stood on the top step, looking at his sister. "Where are you going to go, Margaret?" "Away. It's what I should have done a long time ago." Clay walked down the steps. He took the suitcase handle from her hand. He set it on the ground. "No." Margaret looked at him, confused. "What do you mean, no?" "After what I did." "After what you did," Clay said slowly. "We lost 25 years. All of us. If you leave now, we'll just lose more time. We've lost enough." Margaret stared at him. "You don't want me to go?" "I'm angry," Clay said. His voice was steady. "I will be angry for a long time. But you're my sister. You made a terrible mistake. Then you made another one, hiding it. But you have also been here. You helped me when Mary died. You tried to protect me, even if you were wrong about how. I can't lose my whole family in 1 week." Tears streamed down Margaret's face again. "I don't deserve this." "Maybe not," Clay said. "But it's not about deserving. It's about being done with losing people. Stay. Help me fix the fence the storm broke. Make some coffee. Just stay." Margaret covered her face with her hands and cried. Clay put a hesitant arm around her shoulders. It was stiff, but it was there. Lilui watched from the yard. She saw the beginning of a very long forgiveness. It would not be easy, but it was starting. Clay looked over Margaret's shoulder at Lilui. "Sun's coming up proper," he said. "Best part of the day." He picked up Margaret's suitcase and carried it back inside. Margaret followed him, wiping her eyes. Lilui walked around the side of the house toward the east. The sun was just clearing the distant mountains. The whole desert was washed in golden light. The wet cactus spines glowed. Everything looked new. She heard Clay's footsteps behind her. He came to stand beside her. They watched the sunrise together in silence. After a long while, Clay spoke. "I don't expect you to call me anything you're not ready for. I just want you to know you have a place, for as long as you want it." Lilui looked at his profile in the morning light. The tired, kind face, the eyes that had seen so much sadness, and now held a careful, fragile hope. She thought of the hot road, the sound of his truck stopping, the first cool water, the first act of kindness with no strings attached. That was the moment her life turned. That was the moment she was found. She did not say Dad. The word was too big, too strange, but she reached out her hand. Her fingers found his rough, scarred ones and wrapped around them. Clay's breath caught. He held her hand gently, like it was the most precious thing in the world. He didn't look at her. He kept watching the sunrise, but she saw the tears on his cheeks again. Together they stood in the quiet morning. The storm was over. The air was clean. The long, wounded years were behind them. The healing, slow and real, had begun.